This episode is brought to you by Marshalls, where you never have to compromise between quality and price. The buyers at Marshalls hustle hard, working to bring you great deals on brand name and designer pieces. Because Marshalls believes everyone deserves access to the good stuff. Visit a Marshalls store near you or shop online at marshalls.com.
So good, so good, so good.
New markdowns are on at your Nordstrom Rack store. Save even more, up to 70% on dresses, tops, boots, and handbags to give and get.
Because I always find something amazing.
Just so many good brands.
I get an extra 5% off with my Nordstrom credit card. Total queen treatment.
Join the Nordy Club at Nordstrom Rack to unlock our best deals. Big gifts, big perks. That's why you rack.
This is Optimal Health Daily. Autopilot Achievement: How to Turn Your Goals into Habits by Leo Babauta of zenhabits.net. And I'm Dr. Neil, your very own personal narrator. Hey there, welcome to another edition of Optimal Health Daily. This is one of just a few podcasts in the world where blogs are read to you. And on this show, you get the added bonus of hearing my commentary at the end. Oh, and another bonus, on Fridays, I answer your questions. Now, to check out our other shows, just search for Optimal Living Daily wherever you're hearing this. But for now, let's get to today's post and start optimizing your life. Autopilot Achievement: How to Turn Your Goals into Habits by Leo Babauta of zenhabits.net. Quote, "First we make our habits, then our habits make us." Charles C. Noble. It's such a simple concept, yet it's something we don't always do. It's not exceedingly difficult to do, and yet I think it's something that would make a world of difference in anyone's life. Break your goals into habits, and focus on putting those habits into autopilot. Last week, when I wrote my ultimate guide to motivation, there were a number of questions about my belief that having one goal to focus on is much more powerful than having many goals. There were questions about my personal goals, such as running a marathon, eliminating debt, and so on, and how I was able to achieve them while working on different projects, and so forth. How can you have one goal that takes a long time and still work on smaller projects at the same time? These are excellent questions, and my answer takes a little explanation. I try to turn my goals into habits, and in doing so, I put my goals on autopilot. Turning a goal into a habit means really focusing on it intensely for at least a month to the exclusion of all else. The more you can focus on it, the more it'll be on autopilot. But once you put it on autopilot, once a habit is firmly established, you don't really have to focus on it much. You'll still do it, but because it's a habit, you only have to use minimal focus to maintain that habit. The goal goes on autopilot, and you can focus on your next goal or project or habit. My marathon example. Let's look at my marathon goal as an example. I was just starting out getting into running, and I had the brilliant idea to run a marathon within a year. By the way, that's not the brightest idea. You should run for a couple of years before attempting marathon training, or it'll be much, much more difficult for you. So that was my goal, and it was my main focus for a while. But in order to achieve that goal, I broke it down into two habits. 1. I had to make running a daily habit while following a training plan I found online. And 2, I had to report to people to have accountability. I did this through family, friends, and coworkers through a blog and through a column in my local newspaper every 2 weeks. With this accountability, there's no way I would stop running. The daily running habit took about a month to form. I focused on this exclusively for about a month and didn't have any other goals, projects, or habits that I prioritized as highly. I did other work projects, but they kind of took a back burner to running. The accountability habit took a couple of months, mainly because I didn't focus on it too much while I was building the running habit. But it stuck, and for that first year of running, I would report to people I knew and blog about my running every day. And I would write a column every 2 weeks for my local paper. Once those two habits were firmly entrenched, my marathon goal was pretty much on autopilot. For example, I could focus on my debt reduction goal without having to worry too much about the marathon. I still had to do the work, of course, but it didn't require constant focus. And eventually, I ran the marathon. I was able to achieve this because all year long, I had the daily running habit and daily accountability habit. I put my marathon goal into autopilot, and that made it much easier. Instead of struggling with it daily for an entire year, I focused on it for 1 month, well, actually 2, and was able to accomplish it while focusing on new habits and goals. Quote, motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. Jim Rohn. Other applications. This works well for many other types of goals, of course. For example, debt reduction. I turned this goal into a few different habits, including creating a monthly spending plan, learning to stick to the spending plan, and making automatic debt and savings payments. Once these habits were on autopilot, debt elimination was a sure bet. Weight loss. The daily exercise habit was an important first step. Then I got into healthier eating habits, one at a time. Recently, I added the habit of tracking my calories, and that's helped a lot. Writing a book. This was simply setting a time to write and making myself write during that time, no matter what. Once you have that habit, the book will come. And getting organized. This is 3 main habits. Designating a spot for everything I own, putting things in their designated spots immediately, and doing a daily processing of your inbox or inboxes. As you can see, just about any goal can be turned into habits if you think it through. Let's dive a little deeper into how to do that. How to turn a goal into habits. It's a pretty simple process, but let's go over it step by step. 1. Your goal should be written out very clearly. The better you can visualize your goal, the easier this will be. 2. Think about the steps needed to get to your goal. There may be many. 3. Can the goal be accomplished with a series of daily or weekly actions? For example, to save money, you will need to make a savings deposit every payday before you pay your bills. Through that regular action, the goal will eventually be accomplished. Figure this out, and that's your habit or series of habits. 4. Figure out the amount of the habit that will need to be done to get you to your goal by your timeline. By amount, I mean that you have to figure out quantity times frequency to get your desired result. For example, I can run every single day, but not be prepared to run a marathon if I don't do enough miles or long runs. So, if I'm going to run every day, I have to also know how far, and any other things, such as different workouts on different days. If I'm going to have a savings deposit every week, I need to know how much is necessary for each deposit in order to reach my goal. Figure out this amount for your habit and make a schedule. 5. Focus on the first habit for at least 1 month to the exclusion of all else. For example, don't worry about the other 2 habits while you're trying to form the first habit. 6. If more than 1 habit is necessary, start on the second habit after a month or so, then on the third, and so on, focusing on 1 habit at a time until each is firmly ingrained. 7. After all the necessary habits are ingrained, your goal is on autopilot. You will still need to focus on them somewhat, but to a lesser extent. If any of the habit gets derailed, you'll have to focus on that habit again for 1 month. And 8. After you're on autopilot, you can focus on a new goal and a new set of habits. Quote, habits are at first cobwebs, then cables. Spanish proverb. You just listened to the post titled Autopilot Achievement, How to Turn Your Goals into Habits by Leo Babauta of zenhabits.net, and I'll be right back with my commentary. Right now, there's a talented person out there who could take your company to the next level. Do you want to hope they see your job post before your competitors? Or do you want to match with them with Indeed sponsored jobs? Stop struggling to get your job post even seen on other sites. Give your job the best chance to be seen with Indeed sponsored jobs. When I was looking to hire, it was so slow and overwhelming. I wish I had used Indeed. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results now with Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/health. Just go to Indeed.com/health right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/health. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed.
When did making plans get this complicated? It's time to streamline with WhatsApp, the secure messaging app that brings the whole group together. Use polls to settle dinner plans. Send event invites and pin messages so no one forgets Mom's 60th. And never miss a meme or milestone. All protected with end-to-end encryption. It's time for WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone. Learn more at whatsapp.com.
Dr. Neil here for my commentary. At the end of this post, today's author, Leo, described the 8 steps he recommends to turn any goal into a habit. At first, you may have thought, that sounds awfully complicated. 8 steps? That sounds like a lot. Well, think of it this way. You actually already do many of these steps naturally. You don't believe me? I'll give you an example. I bet you know the fastest way to get home after a long day at work or school. You'll likely think to yourself, I'm leaving when traffic on my usual way home is at its worst. So to get around the traffic, I'll take Main Street, then I'll connect from there to the main highway, but then use a turnoff a couple of miles before the road I usually exit the highway. You get the idea. All of this planning represents steps 1 and 2 that Leo discussed. We set these kinds of very specific goals for ourselves every day, all the time, just like which street we're going to turn on and when. I'll give you another example. I will take my lunch break from noon to 1 every day. So again, it's a very specific habit that we follow and didn't really take much effort. So we actually have quite a bit of practice with creating very clear goals for ourselves. But for some reason, we forget these steps when it comes to creating health-related habits or goals. But the good news is, goal setting is in our nature. We just need to use the same steps when it comes to creating healthy habits. All right, that'll do it for another edition of Optimal Health Daily. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll be back here tomorrow as usual, where your optimal life awaits.